Sadhguru, one question I've always meant to ask you, and I think I did ask you several years ago. We are a very young nation. I mean, the whole world is looking at us because in demographics, we are an extremely young nation. Our workforce is extremely young. And I think one of the reasons they all look up to you or go with your teachings is because you don't come from a school of thought which says, do not do things that give you pleasure.
I did not go
You
to any
yourself,
school.
exactly, you yourself, for example, ride a bike and you've never propagated the fact that do not enjoy the good things of life. What would you tell, or how would you tell the youth of this country in terms of balancing that it's okay, you want to ride a bike, you want to go up, trekking, you want to party, it's all right. At the same time, keep in mind X, Y, Z. What would that message be to them?
Yes, right now we are a young population. Youth simply means life in the making. They have not become completely conceited, they have not become organized, they have not become educated or inspired or anything, they are fluid. So it's a possibility. That's why we are saying youth is great, because it's a new possibility, it could go any way. But which way it goes depends on various things. If we empower our youth with inspiration, education and competence, we can see our population is a miracle. At the same time, an uneducated, unfocused, uninspired youth could be a disaster for any nation. So which way are we going to go simply depends on this. The youth of this nation and we as a generation of people of the older generation, are we going to facilitate that possibility in this country where youth will truly become a capital for building a wonderful nation, or are we going to make this youth into a disastrous possibility which they can if the necessary ingredients are not put into them? So what should the youth do? Youth should see that the previous generations have failed them. The only way that they can make their life is that they come to their senses now. I'm saying this because in many ways we have failed them, because 65 years after independence, we still do not have a system to educate every child that is born in this country. We do not have enough nourishment. We have the maximum number of undernourished children in this country compared to any other country. Our nourishment levels are even worse than Bangladesh. So, as a generation, for whatever reasons, we can give any number of excuses, for whatever reasons, we have failed to create a situation where every child born will have equal opportunity. We have not done that. It is my hope that at least the next generation will create that there is an equal opportunity. You cannot equate people. People will grow according to their capabilities, but everybody should have the opportunity. That itself is missing, because when you undernourish a child, he's finished. First 4 years, if the child doesn't get the nourishment, do whatever you want later on, it's not going to work for him. Life is not going to yield to him its full benefit. So, we cannot give nourishment, we cannot give education, we cannot give the necessary possibilities for a human being to blossom. If we have not created that for the younger generation and we keep on gloating about our country is a young country and all this, it's just rubbish, lot of rubbish that people are talking.
My final question, Sadhguru, and I know that a large number of corporate leaders do come to you, talk to you, even at the middle level, you do conduct sessions and your team conducts sessions with them. What, according to you, is the definition of a good corporate leader? I mean, you've got large number of employees and their families who are dependent on you. At the same time, there is this constant desire to be able to meet your profit goals, and somewhere in the middle of it, things crack up and compassion goes out of the window and profits become the sole motivator. What do you advise corporate leaders?
One basic thing is, if you cannot even manage your own mind, how can you manage 1,000 or 10,000 people's minds? If you want your organization to move in a certain direction, in some way you should be able to manage the minds of these 1,000 people. But if you cannot even manage yours, how are you going to manage theirs? So largely, people are functioning by accident. And when you function accidentally, you will always be at your wits' ends. And when you are like this, you will not create the necessary… See, if you have 1,000 people who listen to what you say, if you have the necessary vision and intelligence, you can create phenomenal things out of that. Now you have 1,000 people, but you are not able to direct them because you yourself are not able to direct yourself the way you want to go. So it's very important, once you come to a position of leadership, when I say leadership, see, there was a time when religious leadership was the most influential leadership in the world. After some time, the military leadership took over and they became very significant. In the last 100 years, the political leadership, essentially democratically elected political leadership, became significant. Now we are in a transitory period where in the next 15–20 years' time, the economic leaders will be the most significant leaders on the planet. Already it is becoming like that. So we are transiting in that. So when this is so, when you say a corporate leader, he is a leader of the people also, not just of money and material. He is slowly gaining that responsibility, that privilege and responsibility. Why I say privilege and responsibility is, when you are placed in a position where every thought that you generate, every emotion that you generate, every action that you perform can make a difference for 1,000,000 people around you, it's a great privilege. You have to conduct this with enormous responsibility and sense. So this is something our corporate leaders have to realize. They are new leaders. I'm saying they're new leaders because they… all these days, and still probably many of them think, their life is just about making money and whatever else, about seeing the balance sheets are doing well. They need to understand, slowly they are moving into a position that they are the leaders of the people. There are no other leaders left. Slowly the other leaders are just evaporating. Do you know who is the chief of army in India? You know who is the chief of army in Pakistan, but you don't know who is the chief of army in India, because it doesn't matter, isn't it? The military leadership doesn't matter anymore. There will come a time you will not know who is the prime minister of this country. You will only know who is the corporate head of this, this and this, because we are moving in that direction. So once we are moving in this direction, you have to get into the right shoes. You must understand it's not just about balance sheets and Sensex, you are heading the people in a certain direction. So if you understand this and you also understand that everything that you do is affecting people around you, large number of people around you, then you must engineer yourself to be in such a way that every thought, every emotion, every action that you perform is towards the goal that you have stood up for.
On that note, Sadhguru, thank you very much for agreeing